First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate you all joining us here, live streaming on our apps, on our website, our social media channels. And one of the things we get to do here is do deeper dives and get to know the Fox 12 Oregon team, including Fox 12 Investigates, which, as you know, we have expanded this team. We're investigating all kinds of things. And to do that, we need awesome reporters to be here to do that. So that is why we have Ezra Kaplan here, one of the newest members of the Fox 12 Oregon team. Ezra, is really nice, not only to meet you, but also have you here on the show.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. And I know, so you're new here to Portland, but you've had a pretty big career previous to this.
It's been a bit of a wild ride. So I've been doing journalism for about 10 years now. I'm coming here from LA, was in LA for about 4 years, in Boston for 2 years before that, and before that, really bouncing all over the place. So I've worked for big news stations, I've worked for wire services, I've worked as a freelancer, I've even lived abroad and worked, in South America for a while. And so it's been exciting career, and honestly, some of the favorite things that I've done has been kind of at the local level. And so I'm really excited to kind of get here, get to Portland, and just jump right in, get some of these stories here in this community, give them some air, let them breathe. So,
yeah, I mean, there's so many things here. I mean, looking at that though, so LA and Boston, I mean, major markets, major things, that I'm sure you're reporting on in there. I don't know if there's any of those that you could talk about, any ones that stand out.
Sure. Well, so what I was doing when I was in LA and in Boston, I was working for the national news, right? So I was working for the network and really chasing these big stories. And one of the interesting things was that every story we did had to be interesting to everybody in the country. So that meant a lot of the maybe more interesting stories, but maybe a little bit more local stories, we kind of had to pass over. We wouldn't have the chance to necessarily dive into those stories. And so it's one of the things I'm really excited about here. But looking back, there's been a lot of tragedies that we've covered. One of my jobs early on in my career was, when there was a big disaster, whether it was a hurricane or, unfortunately a lot of shootings or sometimes big court cases, it was get on a plane, go out there and figure out how we're going to cover it. And so I did a lot of that kind of story. But more recently, in the past 4 years, I've been responsible for a lot of the business and technology coverage. And so a lot of social media coverage, a lot of covering, Amazon, Intel, Microsoft, some of the biggest companies, the biggest employers, a lot of retail stuff, looking at Walmart, Target, Walgreens, CVS, Best Buy. A lot of these big names, spending a lot of time really digging into it, especially over, through the pandemic, looking at labor practices during the pandemic and how workers are staying safe. More recently, as I think we're all aware, this labor kind of movement, this summer of strikes, this, all this stuff going on. We're having a real labor moment right now. And so those are some of the things that I've been working on. And yeah, really varied career.
That's a huge variation in there. I mean, a huge variation of stuff to cover, and different ways, I'm sure, to cover each one of those.
Absolutely.
And different contacts you have to make, different types of reporting you have to do. So that's a lot. So coming here now, and being part of Fox 12 Investigates, so getting into Portland, I guess, what are your first impressions? I mean, and honest first impressions.
I mean, my first impression is the green. The green is
that's
the
true.
First.
Coming from LA, that's it.
Coming from LA, I've spent a lot of time in the Southwest. I did, the whole other part of my life is I lived in Arizona for about 6 years. So I spent a lot of time in the Southwest, and one of the things that attracted me to Portland, besides just, I think, the community, is truly the green, the nature, the access to nature. So first impressions really have been really good for me. I'm really excited to be able to be here, to be able to get out into nature, and just for my personal level, the quality of life. I'm really excited for that. I also think it's just a really interesting time to be diving into Portland and the Portland stories. There's a lot going on just at the local government level, looking at we've got a new city charter that's coming into effect, how that's going to change the structure of the city, going to change, who's in charge of what, who's being held accountable for what, making sure everything's getting done, all that kind of stuff. There's going to be a lot to cover there. And then, Portland's at a bit of a crux of a moment, right? It's there's a lot going on with the downtown. We've got, there's the Measure 110 issues going on around the drug use and decriminalization around there, as well as kind of the unhoused population and what that's, doing to the downtown of Portland.
Right.
And it does seem like, it's a moment where the city can really do something, right? The things can really change. And I'm really excited to cover kind of what that looks like. Who's going to take some of those roles? We've got Ted Wheeler announcing that he's not going to be seeking re-election. What's that going to do? What's it going to do if we have a new city manager, and what's their responsibility going to be at all this? So there's a lot going on in Portland,
so
and,
much.
and I'm excited to cover it. Yeah.
Even along the Ted Wheeler route, I mean, in the next year, we'll have a new police chief. We'll have the whole new city charter of how everything works, different numbers of council people.
Full new role, a whole new role that didn't exist before.
Yeah, completely different on there, and a new mayor. Yeah. Because he's not running again. Yeah. Which, that's pretty much all the power positions, a lot of them.
And in addition, there's some ballot measures that are being tossed around that, I mean, next fall could be a really monumental election for Portland. So, lots to get into. There's going to be plenty of work to do.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and I know that you just got in here, so you've already started digging into all of that stuff and working on that.
Absolutely.
Anything interesting that you can share? And I know, these are investigative reports, so I'm not asking to spoil anything or ruin your reporting, but
absolutely no. I'm coming in full steam ahead and just kind of really digging in, and one of the interesting things that I'm already finding is that Oregon is really good about numbers, and I, as an investigative journalist, as an investigative reporter, I love data. I love digging into it. You'll come up and see me, and it'll be just my computer screen will just be spreadsheets and numbers, and I'll put some headphones on and just get lost in there. And so one of the things that we've been looking into is looking at Measure 110. And these tickets, these what they call Class E violations. And so these are the tickets that are basically being given out for substance possession or substance use.
Okay.
And so we started pulling down some of the numbers, and interestingly found, we've been talking a lot about fentanyl and the opioids, and that's been driving this so many of the issues that the city is seeing. But the reality is, when you look statewide, what we're actually seeing is a significantly higher use of methamphetamines rather than fentanyl and opioids. Again, this is at the state level. Now, when you go down to the county by county, that trend of methamphetamines being above the opioids holds true for everywhere except for Multnomah County. So in Multnomah County, the kind of, I think, what the gut thought that fentanyl would be above methamphetamines holds true. So in Multnomah County, fentanyl is being ticketed at a higher rate than anything else. It's a Class 2 substance, and so that's the top of it. But as soon as you leave Multnomah County, the rest of the state, by I think it's almost 2 times as high, methamphetamines are being ticketed more commonly than fentanyl, opioids, or heroin.
That is fascinating, like why that would be the case.
Yeah, and it's one of the, and so we just got this data, and that's kind of, just to take you through the investigative process, we're like, oh, now those are some interesting facts, right? We've got these numbers. What does that mean, right? Why are that? Why is that the way it is? And so we're going to be digging into that and kind of trying to bring the viewers some answers. And really, for ourselves, I don't know the answer to that. Right. I don't know why that is.
I'm really looking forward to finding out. Why
as am I. As am I. And so,
what is causing that?
Yeah, that's just one of the first things that that we're digging into. And there's a lot. It's one of the fun things about this job is that it's. I get to discover questions, right? Yeah. I go in with questions, and I discover more questions, and it's just the thread. It's just pulling the thread, pulling the thread, and so that's a little nugget of just the last couple days of kind of digging into things here.
And I think for people watching too, just getting a little bit of that behind the scenes of understanding what it takes. These reports that you see on the news, when you see it all bundled down, you get all this information right at once. That takes a lot of work.
Absolutely.
To get that, to boil that down to
Yeah,
to the facts.
I mean, and just this one in particular, you know, it's talking to state officials and getting these numbers, and then having to do public records requests, and having people on their side who are, you know, the taxpayers are funding their job, and their job is to pull those numbers, give them to me so that I can bring them to the viewer. And it's a lot of work that goes into this stuff, but it's pretty straightforward, right? And so I'm a big fan of that transparency. It's like, here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
These
and then
are the
we'll bring you the
numbers.
story.
These are the facts, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know one other thing too for Fox 12 Investigates is I like to remind people about this, is that you can submit topics or things that you think should be investigated. We've got it right on the website. So you can go there, drop it in, say what your concern is, and somebody from the team will take a look at it. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We get emails every day. We just always looking through them, and we love hearing from folks and hearing because we can't be everywhere. We can't see everything. So we absolutely need folks to let us know what are you seeing? What's of concern? What doesn't seem quite right? You know, that kind of stuff. Can't do our job without it. So,
it's I mean, it's so valuable. And I could say that too for Fox 12 Now. You know, I appreciate when people write in for something you want to see on here, you know, whether it's a topic that you think should be covered, or even an event, or you want to hear from one of our reporters, and you know, or do a deeper dive on a topic. Please send an email in, because that's something that we could do here. That's kind of the really cool thing that we get to do here in this newsroom, is, you know, have the ability and the freedom to do that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and talk to people. And,
totally.
Yeah,
We love it.
forth.
We absolutely love it.
Ezra, it is really nice to have you here on the team.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm
glad that we had a chance to chat.
Yeah, for sure. And so whenever you have your first big one, please come back here.
I'll be back. I'll definitely be back.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, and thank you everybody for joining into it again. Fox 12 Now, if this is your first time watching this, I remind people all the time, so you probably get tired of me saying it, but wherever you're watching, that's where you can find us. So we are live streaming on our apps. You can download the Fox 12 Oregon app. There's a Fox 12 Now button. Watch all of our past stuff. We've got our social media channels. We've got the website. So lots of places. And we have a lot of interviews, a lot of segments that we've had here on this show just in the months that we've been doing this. So you can check out all of those as well. Just go to the YouTube channel or any of those other places. And yeah, all right. We met Ezra. So there it is.
Here I am.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon with more Fox 12 Now.